Hi guys. So for those who know me and those who don't know me, my name's Simon Adams. I'm part of the team at Audicity, and just a couple of videos that are going to come from me over the next week or two explaining the project, why we did the project, what the project's all about, what we hope to achieve with the project, why we built the project the way we built it, and the tokenomics behind the project, and what we feel is missing in the space and why we are doing it. I'm used to dropping voice notes in Telegram. I've been doing that for probably 3 or 4 years. Been quite inactive over the last year due to the space and me going through my own stuff as well. So it's the reason why a lot of people haven't seen me. But I just wanted to clear a few things up, and I always feel it's better to explain in a video or in a voice note why we're doing something as opposed to writing it down. In all of the information that we put out at the launch of the project, we put out so much information because we wanted it to be as transparent as possible. Now I understand people can read things and interpret things in different ways, so I get that, and I get the whole thing in general is difficult to understand if it's not explained properly. So we wanted to just do videos because the other reason for that is I think YouTube will become a platform for everything that we do from a team and a company point of view, and how we talk and how we relate and how we sort of inform and keep people updated, as well as courses. I know I'm going to be quite active on here. I know Jane's planning on doing lots of courses and lots of webinars from a psychology point of view and how we deal with things. And I know that, moving forward, I'd like the developers to do live developing lessons and teaching people how to better interact with smart contracts and how to better manage their own code and all of that. So YouTube will be a good platform for all of those things. So I'm going to start with the project and how it came about and why it came about, and then sort of in the next video I think I'll move to the tokenomics of the project and why we designed it the way we designed it. So Audicity as a concept is a company that is going to provide a security service to the DeFi space for the DeFi space as a company. We're not limited to that role, but it's sort of like your standard remit for why we did the project and the way we did it, because there has been an awful lot of abuse in the node space, and the concept is actually, to us, is really good. Now, I'm not going to mention project names in any of these videos, but I am going to go into sort of details behind projects without mentioning names, so everyone can sort of relate to what I'm talking about. I just don't want to start a whole name calling and shaming and why we feel this project did this better and this project did this worse, because I don't want that. I just want to be our own project, but I want to explain the reasons why we are doing the things we are doing. So there is a lot of theft in the DeFi space, and it will be many years until regulations come into the DeFi space. The European Commission is about to release a report saying that they are going to continue to observe the DeFi space but not actually get involved in it. And that's purely because they don't know how to. And no one knows how to get involved in it because the regulations are still not there, and they're not clear on how we go about sort of interacting with smart contracts from a legal point of view. And that's really important, because if we're still a fair way off regulation and we don't really have any sort of watchdogs in the space, then we feel like we need to bring a watchdog to the space that can help and assist and all the rest of it. There is great projects out there that I will name, things like Andy from Foot and Rugs. So their team sort of look at things upcoming and look at the smart contracts and say, okay, this could be an issue moving forward, this could be an issue, and that could be an issue. And they do raise awareness, and just to be clear and to be careful and all the rest of it. And we want to go one step further, where we want to openly and actively work with projects and say, instead of going to somewhere to have your code audited for $5, $10, $15, $20,000 or whatever it costs, just bring it to us, go through a KYC policy with us so we know who you are. And then we will do your audit. We will provide that service for the community, because at the end of the day, if we're providing that service for the community, then it is going to be safer for the community on a whole. And when I refer to the community, I actually refer to all of crypto and all of the space, because that's how I view a community. Obviously, we have our community with Audicity, but as a whole, we are just a community. We're people looking to build things and create things that are going to benefit others in the future and all the rest of it. So the node space came along with the Daddy, which was, I think, end of 2020. I think that sort of all started to come about, and everything went swimmingly well. Everything was fantastic, and then everything started to fall to pieces. Now, everything falls to pieces in the node space for two reasons. The first reason is teams don't fulfill promises, which kill community sentiment. And if you kill community sentiment, then your project's effectively over because you've got nobody supporting it, because these are decentralized and free products. So if you haven't got a decentralized and free market around your product and nobody's got faith in it moving forward, then you're going to struggle with moving forward. And that's the main reason for that one. And the other reason is tokenomics and emissions. And teams don't look at their tokenomics and their emissions and say, right, okay, this is going to be a problem 6 to 12 months down the line, but we'll address it 6 to 12 months down the line. And then they try and build a use case that actually fixes the problem that they know is coming. And they fail to build that use case, they fail to build that, and that's why that fails. So all of these projects that are in the space at the moment started out great, and I am a participant in all these projects as well, which is one of the reasons why I got together with the rest of the team and just said, I want to do something better, and I want to do something different, and I want to do something that, the project itself is a utility in itself, because it is something that is drastically needed. There is no accountability, there is no transparency, there is no security, there is no community watchdog, there is no point of interaction where somebody could go and say, right, this has happened to me, what can you do about it? And I feel that as a community, we need that sort of entity in the space where it has its own purpose, it has its own community, it has its own treasury. All of those functions can perform their duty and their service without us, sort of thing. But it needs that real world interaction, it needs that real world space. If somebody needs to bring litigation, if a project is blatantly outright scamming and taking investors' money, then there needs to be an entity that at least attempts to bring accountability to those people. This hiding behind a Twitter address and all the rest of it just won't work moving forward. People won't trust it and people won't get involved with it. The reason why we've done everything the way we've done it is for that reason. So there is no accountability in the space, but there is also no trust. And there is teams that are very transparent with who they are, but do not communicate at all and do not take their users' concerns into view. And they just pretty much do what they want. I'm not going to mention any names. So a project that shall not be named basically didn't come up with a way to control their emissions and didn't come up with a way to make a use case and utility work in the time that they said they were going to. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't do it moving forward, but at this present moment in time, and with the market the way it is, which is there is nobody in the market, basically. There's no buyers and there's no sellers. Everybody is sat on the sidelines. Great. So, and effectively half killed their own project. And that just doesn't wash for me. As an investor in that project, that doesn't wash for me. And then there's other projects that have not controlled their emissions, they've reduced, they've baited and switched on tokenomics, and just haven't brought that to fruition for their users. There's new projects that are attempting to, but the way they've communicated means that they're finding it very difficult to gain the support they need to move forward. So there's lots of these issues. So we thought, okay, so from the outgo, we're going to do a LLC. We're going to give people a corporate address to point to. We're going to, there isn't any of it. I don't like the term doxing. So I'm from a corporate world, and doxing just isn't something that we use as a term because we're just used to knowing who that we're dealing with. And you as, a community, and you should know who you're dealing with. You should know who is behind the project that you're looking at. You should know who is behind the project that you're looking into, which is why we've come out very publicly and very transparently. So privately, I'm quite a private person, but from a public point of view, from a company point of view, I'm a very active and I'm a very corporate person. So from an Audicity point of view, I will always be there. So you might not have a personal Facebook for me. So I do have one. I've got about 14 friends on it, I think. I don't particularly like how people use data, so I tend to steer clear of an awful lot of the data gathering sort of platforms, sort of your Googles and your Facebooks and all the rest of it. So Jane has always used those. Jane is very active on those, but from my point of view, I'm not. So we wanted to give you a place. So we gave you a place. We gave you a company. We gave you the people behind the company. We gave you thingy. The next thing we wanted to do was to give you the same chance that everybody else gets. So one of the biggest problems in crypto is the private funding behind closed doors. And this gives early investors a chance to move ahead of the rest of their community. So if they're in front at the start, then they're always going to be in front. Now, when we talk about getting in early and all the rest of it, it isn't a case of what you can afford to do and what you can't afford to do. It's just a chance. So the chance to actually be part of something from the start is the way we wanted to build and launch the project. And that, again, is really important to us because we have to be transparent and we have to give everybody the same chance, and it's really, really easy just to spin up a node project, to launch it into the market, to give it big green candles and for everyone to get excited and for everyone to sort of ape in and get involved and get buzzed and get hyped. But it's not the most sustainable way to start a project because it goes through these massive goes through these massive peaks and troughs because that's how the markets work. And we wanted a much more sustainable level platform from the start, and we wanted as many users as possible because of the horrific things that have happened to them in DeFi, to have that very, very low entry point into a project. So me personally, so the projects I've been involved in, and you know, I don't think I'm actually going to maintain anything of mine moving forward from any of the projects because I just cannot see the value in it anymore. And that isn't from a market point of view particularly, and that isn't from what I get from it from a financial point of view. That's what I get from it from the teams. I don't like how the teams communicate, or I don't like the direction they're taking, or it isn't what I initially invested in, and it isn't what I initially thought I was getting from that project. And that's really disappointing. So to me, it isn't worth me actually doing, and it isn't worth me sustaining, and it isn't worth me, because at the end of the day, every fee that I pay, everything I do goes to support a team that I don't actually believe in, and I don't want that myself, and I wouldn't expect that from anybody that was coming into our project. I wouldn't expect people to be involved in something that they weren't involved in from the start with the same message that came from the start. And I think it's really important that we actually clarify those points because they're really important points to clarify. So when we say we won't switch, we won't. So we built a tokenomics model that actually takes care of its own emissions. So regardless of anything that happens, so that's always going to stay exactly the same. So there's going to be no change to that. And from a company point of view, we're only going to expand and deliver on the message that we said we were going to expand and deliver. And those messages are two messages. So the first message is the security side of things, which we want to do the audits. We want to do we want to check on things that are already launched on the market to see if there is any exploits, to see if there is any problems. Because at the end of the day, the last thing that we want to hear is another 100 million was taken from a bridge, or 60 million was drained out of this, or 1 million was drained out of that, or 200,000 was taken from liquidity here, or 500,000. Because the only people that are actively looking for these issues are the people that are going to exploit these issues for a financial gain. So there isn't anybody actively looking at these issues just to say to the teams, hey guys, we found this exploit in your code, and if somebody did this, then this could happen. To give them a chance to fix it before it actually happens. Now, there isn't many doing that. So there is bug bounties and stuff, but if the bugs aren't known, and if the bugs aren't there, and if they're not really advertised, and they're not really pushing for it, and they're not offering bug bounties for it, then you're not going to get people doing that either. And the other thing is the development side of things, which I think people are struggling to understand. So from a development side of things, the company will just develop what our community say develop. So regardless of what we think, we're always going to offer our input and say we don't think it would work because of this, but we're not going to not build it, because at the end of the day, we serve our community. So if you wanted to spin up a game, or you wanted to do this, and we'd say, okay, we'll build it, we'll allocate resources to it, we'll tell you how long it'll take, what the cost will be coming from, your fees and all the rest of it, and then we will launch it. So I have no issue with that. Just because I don't personally want to build a game, because I think lots of people are doing it, doesn't mean I won't. So my comeback to that would be, because I've been vocal on Twitter about it, is I would like more collaboration in the space between projects. The fact that other projects aren't looking at us and actually supporting us because all we're going to do is support them is quite a telling thing to me. Because I want all the other projects to work with us. I want them to come on board and say, okay, can you do our audits? I want it because A, it's going to save their users money. So B, they're going to go through a KYC policy with an actual LLC firm that we'll respect their privacy rights. We're not going to, if they do something wrong, we're not going to release their information to the public. We're going to give that information to law enforcement and to regulators because they've done something wrong. So the fact that we haven't got that transparency and the fact that we're not getting support for trying to do that is telling to me, because all we want to do is serve them in the best interest of their users. And the other thing that I would like to say is I wouldn't want to build a game for the sake of building a game. So my comeback to that would be a recommendation of, okay, so instead of doing a play to earn platform, let's do a play to learn platform in collaboration with the play to earn platforms. So if we could somehow build a platform where there is very minimal cost, to actually enter the platform so it's usable for people. So you could determine a very low dollar value of $2 a month, and then that platform has its own token. So the $2 a month would come from the Audicity token, whatever the community decides to call it. I'll give a proposal for that in this video as well at the end, because it's what I like. It isn't necessarily what's going to be picked, but it's what I like and why I like it. So users can enter for $2 a month and they can compete in a play to learn, so they can learn things while they're going. So we can build that for different age brackets. And then we can go to the gaming companies that are doing the play to earn and say, listen, can we have X amount of your NFTs for a learning platform? So the users are going to compete. This is what's going to happen. So, and then they can take those NFTs that they win in the play to learn platform, and then they can play games to earn money in the play to earn platforms. And that's an open collaboration between sort of a community that's trying to teach and trying to educate and build a space and help to, a community that's trying to launch something for a real financial thing. And we can collaborate and make everything better on a whole. And that's really important, because open collaboration is what built the internet, and it's what built crypto originally, and it's what built Ethereum from nothing, and what's built AVAX, and it's all open collaboration that's happened and moved everything forward. But as what happened in Web 2.0, Web 3.0 is being tribalized and individualized, and our project does this, we're better than that, we do this better, we do that better, and go with us for this and go with us for that. And there's no need for that, because all of these projects can coexist. And not only can they coexist, but if they openly collaborated, then it would be a much, much, much healthier space. There would be less tokens on the market, there would be less issues, and there's ways to do it, and there's ways to work with us, and there's ways for people who are building projects to benefit as well as users to benefit. And that's all from a development side of things. And that's what our community and what we're offering our community is, a resource. So when we talk about projects that have failed their users and aren't living up to their users' sort of needs and all the rest of it, at the end of the day, we're talking about code, because all our products are a code. So it's a Web 3.0 interface and a smart contract in the back, and these talk to each other. And all it is designing a UI, designing a model, making it work, so launching it in the public arena. And that is all it is. So from a commodity point of view, in the crypto and the smart contracts world, developers are a really, really, really high commodity. Because if you can think it, then a developer can build it. Now, it might not be the exact thing that you envisioned, and there might need to be compromises in models and how things work. But as a general rule, there's always going to be that compromise between what you want and what can work in an open market. And any developer can build that. So to give you that resource of literally you can develop. Now, there's things that we would like to develop, So we would like to develop a free and decentralized wallet interface, because I'm really concerned about the VCs behind all the wallets. So we would like to develop that. I think it will benefit people to have a cleaner, easier user interface. I think it would be beneficial to have safeguards in a wallet that don't just connect to any random honey trap. You could have different levels to a wallet. You could have a safe mode where you can only you can only interact with sort of known and trusted smart contracts. And then you could have an expert mode where you can interact with all smart contracts. But the safe mode would be for your new users and your beginners that don't just see a 3000% honey trap candle in a morning, go and connect to it to realize that they actually can't sell the tokens that they bought and it is just a honey trap. Because those things earn millions a day in crypto, and that's all at the expense of users. And that's primarily what I want to focus my time on. But I also want to focus my time on what the community wants. So, as I say, you want a game, you want this, you want that. And the only thing that I will say is whatever we do build and develop, we will develop it around our existing community token, whatever you decide for it to be called, where it will in some way benefit our ecosystem. Now, I am already in the process of being contacted by other projects that want to build and they want to use a developer resource, and already in negotiations and talking on how that's going to benefit our community token, because everything that we build has to have that remit where it somehow benefits our community token, because that gives us a really healthy ecosystem where we're not just relying on the nodes, and there is other participants outside our own ecosystem that do need our token for something. And that can be a small play, again, whatsoever, it doesn't really matter. And there may be a project that wants to launch an NFT platform, and we say to them, right, okay, so if you base your NFTs at $2 to $5, if you want this really low entry point, and your NFTs are then have maintenance fees that you use for your project, and you have your own token that your NFTs distribute, which is a free market token, then all we're doing is adding a $2 to $5 per person who enter that ecospace in our token. Now, if that project grows to 10,000 monthly active users because it's for a great cause, or that is still quite a lot in our token being bought that comes to. So, and those things all need building and developing. And when I say that in a trust, method and passion and all the rest of it, so all of our tokens that we do that with will be returned to the rewards pool, and we'll have some sort of contractual agreement with whatever company that we build for, that they be returned to us. So whether it's we have to buy them back, or whether it doesn't really matter, or whether it's part and parcel of us maintaining their project for them. None of that matters as long as people know that the project that isn't using our token can't distribute our token. So they'll all be sent to multi-sig wallets where we've all got control, and security is primarily the key point for that. And the token itself is just that, it's a free market token. And with a strong community and a good mission and a sensible use case, and more use cases coming on top of it, then it isn't something that shouldn't work. And we are open and transparent in the fact that we do want this sensible token, and we do want a sensible community around it, and we do want sensible, features around. Minting more is something that, will be a feature because we may need to. It's something that I'm going to go into in the tokenomics model next, so I don't really want to sort of talk about it on this particular video. And I just wanted to introduce and say, this is why we're doing it. So Jane wants to work with the people that have been hurt by the space, because that's her field of expertise. And the relationships that have taken strain because of people not necessarily telling partners that they've invested in projects and they've lost money, or people that are dealing with loss in anything in life, not just in crypto. So at the end of the day, we need to bring back that community feel to a community where we do support each other, we do interact, and we do have great ideas, because there is 1,000 people that have much better ideas than me, and I just don't know them. But in a forum and a platform where they can be heard and they can be listened to, and they can be taken, on board and their opinion valued, and we can move forward with that opinion, then that is ultimately the namespace for this. So the last thing I want to finish on is the couple of differences that we want to bring into the space. So we want to go through a KYC policy, and we think we've designed a model that allows us to do that safely. So users remain anonymous within our platform, but we know that they've KYC'd. So now we're doing this for two reasons. Firstly, it's very difficult for us to redistribute funds that we earn outside of crypto to users that haven't KYC'd. So from a legal point of view, that's very difficult. So if they go through a KYC policy and then we know that they've KYC'd, then that would make it easier for us. So if we do commercial work for companies on smart contracts and stuff, because that's the way the world's going, and eventually we will do commercial work, then we need to make sure that we get that money back to our users. And that's the only really safely way that we can do that, sort of in a legal term. The second thing that is around the KYC policy is that I don't like weighted voting. So I don't like people that have got more money to have more say. So we want to make sure that every vote that happens within our community is a real person, and that their vote is no bigger than the next person's, depending on capital and all the rest of it. So I want a person with 1 node to have the same say as a person with 100 nodes. And that doesn't happen in the space at the moment. At the moment, voting is weighted on sort of like how much you've got staked or how many you've got, and that doesn't work for me. That's like saying, in a general election, the UK, a millionaire can vote 10 times and somebody earning £50,000 a year can vote once. And that doesn't work. That's not democratic. It's just not. So 1 person, 1 wallet address, 1 vote. So that wallet address will be attached to a KYC that we won't know who they are, but we will know that they're KYC'd, and that will make us happier to be able to give things back and to create. And we do have a legal precedent where we have got to try and protect as much as we can, which is why we never distribute the token. The token will never be distributed by the company. So it will only ever be distributed by the node holders. So we don't control that. So that's all baked into the protocol. That's nothing to do with the company itself. And that's a security layer, from a securities law point of view. So it's not ironclad and it's not bulletproof, and they may go, and when that comes, we'll defend the same as everybody else. But it's just there for that reason. And we honestly believe that free market tools benefit everybody if they're managed properly. And that's what we intend to do. So in the tokenomics video, as I say, which is coming next, we'll go into the tokenomics and why we built it and all the rest of it. But I just wanted to say hello. This is us. This is me. This is why we're doing it. And I look forward to a long-standing future where we just continue to develop and continue to deliver for the whole ecospace and make everything just a better and safer environment. The other reason is, the last reason, which I will end on, is if we bring to market a legitimate project with a legitimate purpose that fulfills its promises, then I think actively people will avoid that. And they won't go looking elsewhere for the cheaper entry points or the thingy, and they will become involved in something that's more sustainable and safer. And that's why we've done the pre-sale the way we've done it. And that's why we're building in the background now the project that will launch at the end of August. The only difference is, for the first time, you know about the project that will launch at the end of August. And you are funding your own project, which will launch at the end of August. So we're not doing any backroom deals and all the rest of it. And hopefully you won't have to pay $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever a free market coin goes to in its very early stage. $300 or $400 or whatever it goes to. So, because we don't want that. I don't want that. So I want as many people as possible to enjoy the benefits of this as everybody else. And the very true adage is that everything is always more beneficial when you are earlier. And that's never going to change. That's never going to change in the VC world. It's never going to change in the traditional. The earlier you are to something, the better you are to something. And we just want as many people as possible to be as less risk associated and not to have to part with so much and to have their say. My ideal scenario would be 20,000 individual addresses with one node each. That's never going to happen. But I can tell you from the pre-sales, which are going well for me, you know, I'm really happy. We're up to nearly 700 nodes in, 4 or 5 days, or however long it's been launched. What day are we on now? That's a week. So it's been a week, and we're up to 700 nodes in a week. And that's part of a 10-week pre-sale. So I'm really happy with that. I think it's phenomenal. And it's a really nice spread of anything from the max to, 10 to 20 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. There's this really nice even spread that's across there. And I'm just happy with how everything's going. We will continue to deliver the message. We will continue to deliver what we say we're going to deliver. We'll continue to build, and we'll just continue to be there for everybody. I'm an active person on media as well as an active person in life. So I'm not going to be one of these sort of founders or co-founders that you never see, never hear from, always says they're too busy and all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, my job is to interact, to serve, to liaise, that's my job. Which I will continue to do for as long as it is my job. And I look forward to it being my job for a long time. I look forward to building something really special with a really special community. So for now, take care. I wish you all the best, and we'll speak soon.